Should you get your child into acting? And if you did, how would you do it? Today, we're going to talk about it.
Acting Class Weekly with legendary character actor Sean Whalen. Lessons, tips, and insight into the craft and business of acting from a man who's been directed by the likes of Spielberg, Eastwood, Tim Burton, Ang Lee, Michael Bay, Wes Craven, Tom Hanks, and many more of Hollywood's A-list. He is 30 years an actor and your professor, Sean Whalen.
Hello, everyone. We are here to talk about what so many parents in this town and surrounding towns, and actually all over the country, if I'm correct, or all over the world, come to this town.
Different worlds.
Different worlds. Ooh, you're such a
Mars?
comic book.
We
No,
don't
you're
know.
just a comic book person.
Okay.
So they come to try to get their children into acting. And we're going to discuss the ins and outs. There's some, bad labels for child actors and things like that. But if you do it in a way that is healthy for the child and the family, it can be great for everyone. So we are going to talk about that today, and we have a very special guest, Lisa Piccote, who is the owner and founder of Lisa Piccote's Young Actor Studio?
Young Actor Workspace.
Young Actor Workspace.
Oh, I love a workspace.
Yes, yes. And we're going to discuss, the ins and outs and how to do it in a healthy, positive way.
Agreed.
As, opposed to the pushy stage mom that's such a characterization in what people's view of child actors are. So as always, we have Miss Phenomenal, Roxy Striar, my co-host.
Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
And Mr. Funtabulous, Jeff Graham in the booth.
Very interested in this show. I know very, very little about child acting, so I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yes, and again, my special guest, Lisa Piccote.
Hello.
So we are going to talk about that, but before we do, I'd like to talk about my week. And we're just going to do we have the one from last week, Jeff? We did ask you to save it.
I might have dropped the ball on that one, guys, but it's because I wanted to see the live version. I prefer it that way.
He spun it.
I
spun it in his
love
favor.
how you phrased that you like to talk about your week. Really, you're like the most humble person, and we beg you to talk about your week. We're
What do
like,
you
Sean,
mean?
tell us what happened this week. You're like, I like to talk about my week. That's not what happened.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like the audience wants to hear about your week. I want to hear about your week. It's not just you like to talk about it.
Right. So I should spin it more, confidently? Or?
Yeah. Well, now I want to tell you about my week because as 30 years an actor, I feel like it could be beneficial for you guys.
See, Lisa and I come from a long line of acting background where it's kind of embarrassing to talk about yourself that way. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the one hosting thing that I've had the hardest time with. Jeff and Roxy have been hammering me for months to just, own it.
That's why we have Maria do your intro, because you need somebody else to say, this is all, you're a huge character actor, Sean.
I've been around for a long time, and every week's an adventure. Let's find out what happened this week.
There we go,
There
baby.
we go. Am I better? How's that?
I loved it.
Okay. So what did I do this week? So it's a little slow right now. A lot of series have ended. It's kind of a lull before some of the summer shows pick up. People are waiting to see what networks are picking up what. So it's a little slow. So this is always a really good time to check in and reevaluate your material. So what I did, I went on a great hang with my manager, Gary. I totally believe that when you're in front of your agents and managers, it totally helps. It makes them remember you, even though they do, but like sitting with them, my girlfriend and I went up to their house and we had a wonderful dinner and sat out by a bonfire for a few hours, and Gary and I just totally reconnected.
And how does that happen, Sean? Do you reach out to your manager and you say, hey, Gary, I would like to hang out. I want to spend some time with you, or do you wait till he reaches out to you?
We've been saying the Hollywood, we got to hang out for a while, and this is my motto. If you say we need to get together and don't make plans, it's not really saying you need to get together. You have to say what nights are good. And so we kept on saying, well, how about next week? And then he'd travel and something like that. And then finally, the day I woke up, I said, I just have, Sheen and I were talking, I have to get together with him. He texted me that morning and said, dude, we've got to get together. It's been too long. So weird. So
universe.
We got together, made the plans, and he taught me how to cook fish, which I did not know.
What kind of fish?
It's olive oil, garlic salt, 4 minutes per side is what he told me.
So was this a whitefish?
Whitefish. But he
Different
said it
than a
works
salmon,
with,
Sean. Different
he
than a
said
salmon.
same as salmon. He
Well-
said 4 minutes, sear it side to side, and then cover it for 5 to 10 on the thing with
Depends
the
how
cover.
you like it cooked.
I don't know. He said he likes the crunchy outside.
Yeah, oh, me too.
So that was the thing.
Okay, I'm
All right,
coming
so
next
but
time
then and then so when I said to him, I said, "Is there anything I can do to help my auditions at this point?" He said, "Like, let's make sure that your reel is up to date and new pictures." Last week we had the photographer Yvonne Brady on the show, and I already talked to her. We're having breakfast tomorrow. I'm getting new headshots.
Tomorrow you are?
No. We're going to meet tomorrow for breakfast, and we're going to plan when I'm going to do it. It's going to be in a few weeks because I'm fatter in the face and I have less hair on my head since I took my last headshot.
So you want to wait?
Whoop.
So you want to
So-
wait a few weeks so that you can get skinnier in the face and get more hair, or you want to?
No, because she's booked.
Oh, okay.
She's just
I don't know if like fingers crossed, maybe in a
like
few weeks.
maybe. Yeah. No. So we
Well, I
did
do that though. I work out before my headshots. Like if I've been slacking for a couple of
Really?
weeks and I know I have headshots and I want to present myself the
How
way that I
can you
usually
work
go
out your
in.
face to get it looking better for a headshot, though?
When you lose weight in your face.
All right. For me, it's
Also,
sadly
you
the last
retain,
place I-
you know, water weight, salt, all of those things.
Wow.
So making
You're
sure
good.
that I try.
I don't do that, and so casting directors don't expect me to, so I won't. So, I won't. And then I made sure that my latest clip from Magnum PI, which I aired in January, I got it figured out. We bought it on iTunes, got the clip. I edited it nice and tight.
So you purchase it and then what? You have
I
to screen
purchased
cap
it
it?
and kind of pull it into, you kind of screen cap it, put it into like a Wondershare app or something like that, and then you put it in an iMovie, and I cut out my scene. And
Do you have to call
edited
them
it.
and ask for that, or you're fine?
Well, I purchased it, so I don't really know. I was going to, because we were having some technical problems, and I'm having the drinks with the producer of the show in a few weeks. So I was going to just call his assistant and say, "Can you send me the clip or tell me how to get it?" But we figured it out, and then I looked at it and thought, okay, I'm going to trim it, because you want more of you, less of them. And I made it nice and tight and sent the clip, and they're putting it up on casting websites, and they're also, I edited it into my reel, got rid of an old independent movie, put a new current television show. That's another thing, current. And bigger the show, bigger the, you want that stuff up front, current big TV shows, as opposed to, a small independent from a few years ago, which is what I did to replace it. So.
And then you put that reel on YouTube?
They have it. I have it. They have it, and then you can put it on Vimeo. And
Who's
then
they?
My agents and managers.
Okay.
So if they have a part and they say, "Oh, let me look at his reel," they'll send them the link and they'll show it to them on Vimeo. Or if they just say, "Hey, it's a comedy," they're going to just have clips. They've all do that now. They're all separate. They'll just send them the comedy clips. And sometimes you want to have one for drama, one for comedy. But a lot of times they'll just take a clip of a certain show and just send it because it's more
So do you
suited for the
recommend,
show.
Sean, then not putting it up on your website or not putting it up on YouTube?
Yes, you
or you should
if
put
you
it
have
everywhere?
right, if you have a website, like I'll probably put up my new reel on Facebook in a couple days. A lot of people do that just to show people. And on my website, or on my Facebook, I have a lot of horror fans and independent horror filmmakers, so it's all good.
Great.
So that's
Quick
what
question
you
related to
do.
that, Sean, if I may, real
Yes,
quick.
sir.
Just with real footage, you mentioned it's great to be current, which I totally understand because
Yes.
agents and casting directors want to see that you are booking now. Is it better to have like a really current project where you're not featured much, but it's in there for the name? Like if you're on Stranger Things, but you only have one line, do you want to have that in there just to signpost that you were on that show, even if it's not a great
Interesting.
feature?
I'm going to throw that to you, Lisa. What do you think?
It'll be on IMDb, so it doesn't matter.
Meaning?
That your credit will be posted on IMDb, so when they go to look at you, your reel is there and your credits.
So-
You're covered, is what I'm saying.
So you
So
don't need to put it in your reel, or you should?
I would not if it's one line. I would not. I would just have it on your. It would be accounted for.
I see. What you,
Because
do you,
w-
you understand what she's saying? It's going to be listed there anyway as a credit.
That's right.
But in terms of an acting reel, what Lisa's saying is there's not enough acting to really
Right.
showcase
you don't
yourself.
Want you don't want them to say, "Oh, why did he just get a line?
Right.
a
Why
good
was
Right.
it only a line?"
Is he an
So-
extra? Is he a background actor?
Exactly. Did
Yeah.
they throw him a bone? You
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Right.
But if it's a big part, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Post it everywhere. Get a billboard.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So that was my week. And the takeaway is always reevaluate when it's slow and make yourself current and sellable. So when it picks up again, you're nice and ready to go. Get all your ducks in a row for duck season. What was that for? Why would the ducks have to be in a row?
Because you got to follow the next one across the pond, Sean.
That was very committed and so not the answer. It just isn't. That's not the answer.
Because in
Isn't the ducks in a row?
1917,
No, wait. The ducks in a row, isn't that like the shooting gallery, right? You have to get them all up into shooting gallery?
but how are you going to get them in that row? And also, that doesn't sound favorable for the ducks. Why would the ducks want to be in that shooting row?
I don't know. Mr. Funtabulous, in the downtime, you can find out what that means.
On it.
Okay. But before we jump into our topic today, I would love Roxy to talk a little bit about AfterBuzz.
And I wonder if we get it this week.
I don't know.
All right. Well, and we hit it with this. This is my amazing theme music,
This is her
telling you guys
theme
about
music.
AfterBuzz. Yeah,
Yes,
they
she
wrote
loves
it
it.
just for me.
Yeah.
It was definitely a couple mil at least for them to get the rights to this beauty. AfterBuzz TV, in case you guys don't know, we are the ESPN of TV talk. We do after shows for all your favorite TV shows. So right now, obviously, the biggest one,
Yes,
Game of Thrones. Where do you want to go after Game of Thrones? A lot of
Yes.
shows aren't up until the next day, the next week. We are up that night talking about your favorite shows. Do you
Right.
have anything that you're loving watching right now?
I'm loving Fosse and Verdon.
Oh,
I'm
well,
sorry.
we definitely cover that. We're
I
definitely doing an
love
after
Fosse
show for
and
that.
Verdon.
Is it that
Yeah,
good?
no.
I want to say it.
I love it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely get that. And we have all your favorites, like realities, anything you're watching. So you should check that one out.
I will check that out.
But definitely, if you're a fan of this show, you're probably a fan of movies, of TV, of content. So look at AfterBuzz TV. Also, something you could do amazing for us. If you love the show, rate, comment, subscribe. Why does that matter? Because when you rate and you subscribe, we actually go up in the rankings on iTunes and on YouTube. So that means that more people can find us, which means that we are more likely to be able to stay here and keep giving you
Yes.
guys this content. And when you comment, we know what you guys want us to talk about.
Right.
So if you write a question, so say you do have a kid and you're wondering if they should be involved and you want to ask us a question there, that's how we can get back to you on this show. Or you're curious about your reel or more questions on your resume or what you should put in any kind of EPK, then you write those comments and we read those and then we can address them here on the show. So rate, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate it.
Nice. It's
The
always
music's going to fade so beautifully
It's
too
gonna
now. You
fade,
ready for
too.
this, Lisa? Oh, it's just so
Gorgeous.
good.
It's like the
Gorgeous.
end of a.
Good job,
It's
Jeff.
like the end of a beautiful season.
But then next week we always get a new season.
Yeah, that's true. But that's
my God.
seasons.
They go round and round.
So
There's
let's
that
get
famous
it.
song.
Yes,
That famous
I
song.
don't know if
Everything
Sean
has
was
its
with it.
season.
everything is right. So, okay.
I was watching I was watching Fosse and Verdon, and they're doing Pippin, so that's the song from Pippin. So it made me think of it.
Wait,
Sorry.
what's the song from Peace? The season song?
Everything has its season.
Oh,
Everything has
okay.
its time.
Oh,
Show me a reason.
Yes.
And I'll soon
Girl.
show
am
you.
I the only? She's Miss Musical Theater, and
Apparently.
we're going to talk about that.
Slay.
Okay.
So before we do that, we're going to do a quick background of how we met. So I have did a show 30 years, got my SAG card a few weeks ago, and the reason I got my SAG card was because I did a commercial for Caboodles, and there was two other people there who I just ran into. This woman, Julie, that was on the set with us, and David Kaufman, a young David Kaufman who was so great to me. It was so funny. We found the commercial. We posted it on Facebook like a year ago, and I wrote to really quickly. I was like, David, it was so cool. Look at this way back in the day. You were so cool to me. I loved it. So just, checking in a few hours later and like, he doesn't say anything. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And so it spell checked and it said, you were so cold to me on the set. And I was like, oh no, I don't want David to think that.
So what did you do?
I wrote it and I corrected. I was like, no, I meant cool. And he just laughed and goes, oh, I just hadn't seen it. No, it was a blast. He never,
That's
he
funny.
never saw it. And I thought for sure I had
What an
offended him.
aggressive thing to write.
I know, you were so cold to me. Yeah. But he was fantastic. So David and I kept in touch. And then when did you guys start dating? You weren't, so that commercial was in, good Lord, so 89.
Wait,
so
putting
that would have
pieces
been-
together. So you were on set, you were shooting a commercial with
With
your
my
husband.
husband.
Yes.
Okay. Who was not your husband at the time.
No.
Got it.
I'm not sure.
Were
Depends
you
on-
guys dating?
I don't know.
It would be 89.
We got married in 90.
You got married in 90, so you guys were dating.
Yes.
So then when I must have come back to town. We got together a few times. We became friendly. And then, Lisa and I actually worked together on a show, which we'll talk about at the end. So we're going to tease you with
Whoa.
that.
Good tease, Sean. That's
But
the A+
I
host.
wanted to bring Lisa in here because this is such a tough thing. And Lisa started this amazing school, and I've only heard she's got amazing alumni on TV shows all over the networks. She's a fantastic teacher. But when I started to read your page, I was so amazed by your background, and you're in Vegas doing, child acting. Can you tell us a little about that and
Yes.
how that helped you learn the right way to do it?
Okay, so I begged, first of all, to start this off, I think that anyone that wants to do acting, any child, and I was a child when I begged and begged and begged and begged my parents to please let me do it. So
Okay.
I think that is the first requisite.
So listen, they really want to do it.
And
It
I
has to
just-
come from them.
Absolutely. And we
Okay.
didn't have social media. We didn't have,
Sure.
I didn't know how to go to an audition.
Sure.
And I just remember looking in the newspaper, and they posted auditions under our community board in our newspaper.
Wow.
And there was an audition for this children's group. And I said to my parents, yeah, I'm doing it. And they're
Okay.
like, okay. So I remember I got all glammed
Okay.
because I was going to be, I didn't even know what an audition was, but I knew I needed to look good.
Right.
How did
I
you
was
get all
smart.
glammed? You were like,
I
Mom,
wore,
Dad, help me?
No. I just wore a dress, and when you're a tomboy, that's a big deal. And I had
Oh, I
on
didn't know you were a
wedgies,
tomboy.
wedgie sandals.
I
my
didn't know you were a
wedgies. Yeah, I was a
tomboy.
tomboy. And I think I pulled my hair back. I probably took a shower, which is always a
Good
good
for
thing.
you, girl.
And so, just spiffing it up. And I showed up, and there were like 300 kids auditioning for
Wow.
this children's theater group.
And this is in Vegas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I got in. I was
Wow.
one of 10 kids that they picked.
Wow.
What do you do at that point? A monologue?
I mean, it's so long ago, but they had us do improvs. They talked to me, and I was the only girl there dressed in a dress. And
How
I was told
interesting.
later that made me stand out
Wow.
because of 300 kids. They were all in jeans and cool, like gauchos and, Farrah Fawcett and vests.
Yeah,
like, they
yeah.
were all cute and all,
Yeah, yeah.
70s. And I was just in my little dress.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to be anything. I just thought you had to look nice because it was an audition.
Right.
I didn't know. So I got picked, but that children's theater ended up being chosen as the best children's theater in the United States 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I
So
read
it was
that.
kind of for that time and that place, it was a big deal. We were in People magazine and all that.
Wow.
They came out. So in that company, we produced 5 plays a year.
Right.
The children did everything. We did the sets, we did the costumes, we did, and with adult supervision,
Of course, yeah.
we acted in the plays, we were the stage managers, we were the ushers, we did everything. So by the time I was like 16, I had either been in or produced 70, 80 shows.
So children means under 18? Or
Under
what-
18,
Okay.
you had 8-year-olds running spotlights.
Wow.
You had 10-year-olds making the costumes. You had, and yes, there were adults supervising us, but if we said, oh, I think Glenda's dress should be like this, they'd be like, let's do it.
Wow.
And they let us have our creative input.
So autonomy. You had
yes,
some autonomy.
yes. It was a rep company for kids.
Unrelated to school. So this
Unrelated
was
to
after school.
After school, but those kids became my best friends because
Sure.
those are the ones I spent every waking moment with from the second the school bell ended.
Right.
The second I fell asleep at night. I
So
was
5
Right.
days a week.
5 days a week.
Wow.
I was with these kids. And then if we were in production and there was a show going on,
Oh,
we had to
longer
be
than
there
that, yeah.
every single
Yeah.
show to do whatever our job was or be in it, depending on what.
Wow.
It was like a rep company for kids.
That's so
It was the
great.
best training ever. I loved every second of it. I
Right.
still have friends and friendships from that time.
Yeah.
And I just keep coming with word. It was blessed.
Yeah.
It was just a blessed childhood.
Did you ever come home and say to your parents at any point, I don't want to do this anymore, or this is too hard, or I just want to be normal and hang out with my friends after school?
No.
No.
You just wanted to
No,
be there.
Nope. I did remember that there was times when, the season that was picked, maybe there wouldn't be shows for me.
Right.
So I'd go audition for outside stuff and I'd get cast in all the outside stuff. And the lady that ran the program was like, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, then you better use me. I'm out. Like,
at
I'm
her.
working. Like, I'm going to always learn and try. And I would just do, like, I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to learn and be there. I could be chorus. I didn't care. I just wanted to have the experience, learn. And also, they cast adults in the adult roles and kids in the kids roles. So I was learning from adults, too. Like, there were really good
Right.
actors. Like, I loved every second of it. And I highly
Yeah.
recommend that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like you went through the same experience that I did when I had Mindy Sterling in here from the Groundlings a few weeks ago. She was my mentor, and she was such a great teacher that when I got the opportunity to teach at Studio 4, there's just a feeling of, boy, the warmth and the fun that Mindy had in all our classes. I just want to be like that. Is that what helped you inspire, like that a wonderful experience you had
Well,
as a young kid? Did that help you when you were thinking about doing your school?
Yes. I know what I needed,
Okay.
and that's what I try to be.
Okay.
That's the truth.
To make sure
I
that
know
the
what I
kids
needed
get.
as a kid. And some of those things were met and some were not, and that's
Okay.
okay in a professional situation. So I try to give, and I also try to remember how would I want my own children to be treated.
Right.
So that's what I try to remember. But I'm tough. I'm not as tough as the woman that ran the company that I was in,
Okay.
but I'm tough. I'm
Can you
tough.
talk about a couple of those things that you needed and didn't need?
Well, I think as in any group or school,
Yeah.
there's favorites. And I don't think I was one of them for a while. And then I think I got to be one of them because
Okay.
I worked really hard and I got
Right.
better. I took it really seriously, and I think that stands for something. But I just needed an outlet. I needed
Yeah.
an outlet. I needed to be a part of something.
Right.
And I needed to have positive reinforcement. And I
Okay.
think that's what I got.
Yeah.
Eventually. It didn't always start. When I say eventually, because you don't always come into a company and get the roles you want. And
Right.
you sometimes have to go sweep the floors and have to go clean
Right.
the bathrooms and have to go, and you have to earn your way up to the big stuff. And I did, and that took time, and it was a good learning experience about
Yeah.
patience and learning that you gotta put in the work and the dues.
And do you think that it's important to treat the 8-year-olds different than the 15-year-olds?
Of course, because an 8-year-old can't handle as much as a 15-year-old can.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I built sets. I had power saws. We're talking
Wow.
little kids. Like
Yeah.
I made props. I remember sewing, helping the woman that did Gypsy, staying till 1 a.m, being 11 years old, helping her sew all the costumes.
Wow.
I just like we were it.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
it.
That's great.
And it was like we were accountable.
Yeah.
And you showed up. And you didn't mess around. Like, you got your work done. But it gave me a really good work ethic for my life.
Right.
And I don't treat kids like kids. Meaning, of course, they're children, but I know that they're capable of so much more than people give them credit for. Because I know what I was told I could do, and I did
Right.
it. Like, you're going to run a light board. Oh, okay. I'm 9. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did it. Because they said I could.
Do you-
And I
Right.
did. Nothing dangerous,
Yeah, yeah.
nothing inappropriate or dangerous, but stuff like, they rise to the occasion when you tell them they can.
Right.
Do you liken it to sports, kind of, where if there's some sports teams where when you're young, you're running 5 miles a day every single day, and they're telling you that you have to practice this kind of shot 100 times and all of that? Do you think it's similar
Well-
and does similar things for kids, or no?
I think to be a master at anything is 10,000 hours.
Right.
So be a master at basketball, be a master at acting, be a master at karate, 10,000 hours.
Right.
And I think you do anything 10,000 hours, you're going to be pretty good at it. That's
Yeah.
my...
Yeah. Well, that's the same for life. So she had a very rich career. She acted and done tons of theater and stuff like that. What point in your life did you decide you wanted to be a coach and a teacher for young kids?
It's really weird. I didn't decide it.
Okay.
It happened. It happened upon me. It chose me, kind of like the mafia. It
Okay.
pulled me.
This is the life you chose.
Yeah, no. Pull me
They're
in.
pulling me in.
I was doing a play with a little boy, and I got to be friendly with his mom. And she came to rehearsal one day, and she's like, "Oh, Michael has an audition. Will you work on it with him? Will you help him? I don't have time to get him coached." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I think I pulled him in a dressing room, and I went over sides with him, and it was fine. And then she called me. She's like, "He has a callback. Can you work on the new sides for the callback?" And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
sure, okay." And then I think if it wasn't that one, it was the next one. He booked it.
Wow.
And then she's like, can we call you next time? And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they started sending their friends.
Wow.
And then their friends started sending their friends, and then all those first kids started getting jobs. And like I was like, I need to charge you because I'm I'm turning my days upside down to help you now, and I don't even have time to take a shower.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
think I need to charge you now. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I was very reasonable.
Sure.
I still am, but I was very extremely reasonable because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then all those first kids
wanted
got
to
series
continue.
and got movies, and that's how it happened. So that, and
Wow.
so it was kind of organic.
That's
it wasn't
interesting.
Something that I picked. It kind of picked me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that just shows that you had a knack for it. Obviously, you just didn't know you had a knack for it, and it seems like a really great school. You have scene study and improv
Yes.
and all different ages, which
Yes.
I saw.
Yes.
So let's jump into the questions that
Yes.
I think that most people ask. So, like you said, and maybe this is elaborating or repeating, I hope not, but how do you know if it's just a hobby versus like wanting to be professional?
Well, there are certain studios in town that are definitely just for kids that want to act and have fun.
Okay.
And that is absolutely a wonderful thing. My
Right.
studio is for kids that want to do this professionally.
Okay.
How do you tell the difference? It's the work ethic. It's
Okay.
if a kid wants it, and it has to be their creative outlet. So a professional needs to do this. It's their creative expression. A hobbyist does it because they just enjoy it and they want to have fun. So that's how I would say.
Differentiate.
Yes.
So it has nothing to do with that age of skill or talent.
Well, I think there are some people that are just naturally talented at things, and it can be sports or acting or math.
But that
Right.
could still be a hobby. It's not if you are if you're amazing at this, it should be
Well, like I knew
career.
I was going to be an actor. I don't know how I knew that,
Right.
but I knew it.
And
no matter
is
what, I
that
was
the
gonna be an actor.
philosophy you run into with your kids that they want to be professionals, meaning the same attitude of, I want to be an actor, I want to be working?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the ones that aren't sure, you know, maybe they'll get agents or managers, and they'll start auditioning, and they'll just say, this isn't for me. They'll just,
Right.
and that's awesome that they come to it on their own accord.
Okay.
Their own, you know, they get it.
And I've talked about this with everybody before. It's not just the acting, it's the acting and the lifestyle.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that too. So what traits, so I guess you kind of just answered, what traits should a child have to be successful in the long term? Creatively, meaning their creative mind, and personality and work ethic wise. Like
Yes.
what are the traits you think a successful child actor would have?
They just have to have thick skin.
Really?
They just have to have thick skin. Yeah. But that's not just with acting. That's
Okay.
with life. Like
Right.
when you if you do a test and you don't study, you're not going to get a good grade.
Okay.
So you have to say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to improve myself. You don't let a mishap or a disappointment take you down.
Knock you
So
down.
what
Yeah.
if your child comes to you and says, I want to be an actor. This is what I want.
That's
and
what my
you
daughter
know
did.
and you know your
Yeah.
child, and you know they do not have thick skin. What do you do?
I would.
Ooh.
Oh, if your child does not have thick skin and they came to you and said, "I want to be an actor," you know what? I would let them do it to try, but it will take care of itself.
Okay. One
Meaning-
way or
They
the
won't
other,
be-
they'll either thicken their skin or...
Either they'll go, okay, this is really hard and I can't handle this, and I'll say, well, this is your decision. Or they'll say, you know what? I'm going to go forward. I'm going to get tougher. I'm just going to push on. So you'll see. There's no real way to tell. It's like trying a new language or trying a sport. You see if it gels or if it doesn't.
And
And
and I think sorry to interrupt. My daughter tried volleyball recently.
My daughter did too.
She had a really bad coach and a really bad program, and it wasn't inspiring in any way, shape, or form. So do you think the tenacious kid who really wants to do it, if they have a bad teacher or a bad experience, they'll say, well, we just got to find another
Well,
class,
it's
or
so
we
funny.
need to find someone that works for me?
My husband in high school, my husband's had a really long and distinguished
Yeah.
career, works often and is well respected, and
Yes.
and as you said, this is the nicest guy.
Nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So he had a high school teacher that did not like him and told him that he shouldn't really go pursue acting.
Okay.
Okay, so this high school teacher tried to just squash him, and they were doing a production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the teacher took them all to, they let them do this back then, I can't believe it, let them go to a mental institution to watch some of the inmates so that they could give really authentic performances.
Okay.
So David didn't have any lines. Of course, the teacher would never give him a part. So he was kind of in the periphery. And they invited the head of the institution to come to the play on opening night to say thank you. And the guy came, and he had an interview with the kids afterwards with the teacher there, and the teacher said, so, of our actors, what did you think? Was there anybody here that you thought really understood, the play and really understood the psychosis of the characters? And he said, yes, there was one boy in the back. There was a boy in the back, he didn't really have any lines, but that boy completely captured one of our patients. He went on and on and on about David, and David just kind of stood there, and the teacher, of course, turned bright red because he just did not like my husband.
Right.
And anyway, long story short, David came to Hollywood, got a TV series.
Yeah.
So his hometown paper came to interview him, and they said, so tell us, who inspired you as an actor?
Ooh.
And David kind of paused and said, and back in your hometown? And he goes, well, I can't lie. I was discouraged, and I was told I shouldn't. And that is the headline they used in the newspaper.
No.
My high school teacher told me I shouldn't act.
Did he ever hear from him?
Well, they did send us, they were building a new theater at David's high school, and they did ask all the alumni to make a contribution.
Nice.
And my husband, with my prodding, sent a nickel with a piece of tape on it and said, this is what it was worth to me.
Oh, nice. Whoa.
I know.
Fighting words.
Yeah, I love it.
So
Feisty
what
girl.
you're saying is that just because he had a bad experience, he still knew
No,
he wanted
knew.
to.
And,
he knew.
and if he had listened, I would have never met him.
Yeah.
If he had listened.
Right.
So you don't ever tell a child no. Ever. Life will figure it out. I have some students that I might not think are the most talented,
Right.
but I'm not going to tell them no, because if that's their dream, who am I to say? Because kids can get better, kids can improve, it can change.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say no. I'm
Right.
not going to be the one they talk about in therapy when they're 40 that ruin their dreams. It's not going to be me.
If you are a parent and your kid comes to you and says that their acting coach or acting teacher said to them, probably not the best to pursue this, as a parent, should you be concerned letting them pursue it at that point?
Well, no, I'd let them do what their heart wants them to do. Because who are you to say that kid's not going to be a costume designer? Or who are you to say that kid's not going to be a TV director? Or who are you to say maybe it won't be acting that they put their finger on, but maybe it'll be writing or directing or producing or lighting? Who are we
Right.
to say? It's a big river, and just let them jump in and see where the river takes them. But I am never going to tell a child no. I will never, squash a kid's dreams. I will never do it. I will try to help that kid be the best kid that kid can be
Right.
in that moment. That doesn't mean that kid's going to get an Academy Award. That doesn't mean that kid's going to get the lead in a TV series. But maybe that kid will be that kid's personal best for that kid in that day, and that's all you can ask.
And learn that they
Yes.
had a work ethic and a really good environment and whatever they go into.
Well, they're going to be good people.
Yeah, right. So that dovetails nicely into my question. So we hear about the stage moms, right? We hear about this. What traits should a parent, and this is a parent too, no pun intended, but I was looking at articles and stuff, how it affects the family. And I worked on kid shows on Nickelodeon and stuff, and I heard moms who drove their daughter up from San Diego who were featured backgrounds in TV shows, and the husband and the brother stayed home. And, what traits do you think a parent should have or should try to work towards if their child wants to pursue acting?
You just have to, honestly, just drive them. Stay out.
Right.
Just drive them to the auditions or the jobs, and you're their chauffeur. There are coaches and agents and managers that will take care of all of the other stuff, and that's it.
Right.
And make sure that you're supporting their dream as you would if they wanted to play soccer, as you would if they wanted to be an
Hockey
ice
or-
skater,
yeah.
as you would if they want to be a gymnast.
Right.
You'd support that dream.
Right.
So I don't see,
Do you run into a lot of the typical stage moms?
No.
Do they come into you and say, you're not featuring, or they want to, do you get a lot of feedback like that from parents? Or do you have some sort of, when they come in, a sit down with them and say, this is how we work,
it's a myth, because I'd say 99% of the parents are amazing and are there for the kids. So
Okay.
you're talking about the 1%, and I can in 15, 16, 17 years I've been doing this. I can name on one hand.
Really?
Yes.
So you
but
don't run into
those
them.
5 are so bad that they give everybody else
Bad
a
name.
terrible rep.
Right.
I'm curious about the people that aren't here, because if you're in Los Angeles and you're a parent, or you're in
Yeah.
New York and you're a parent, it's not as challenging to get your child into a school like yours. You're
Right.
here, so it doesn't take it's not as big of a time commitment as opposed to, like, one of my best friends grew up in Miami. She turned to her parents every day, I want to be an actress, I want to be an actress, I want to be an actress, I'm serious about this. So when she was 13, her family uprooted their whole life and moved here for her to be an actress.
I have that
She's
too.
very, very successful now, by the way, and her family is very happy for that choice. But it could have not turned out that way. What is your advice to parents listening right now that don't live in one of those major cities if they're having a child who says to them, this is my dream,
Okay.
let me do it?
This is what I say. Wherever they live, and even in remote places, there are ways to get agents, even regional agents. I would get a regional agent. So if you live in Las Vegas, there's agents in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
If you live in St. Louis, Missouri, there's agents in St. Louis. They're
Right.
not the biggest agents, but they're agents. I would go and sign up with those agencies and see if you start to get work regionally. If you get a couple jobs or get a few things, then I would seriously consider jumping. If you don't, then I would still pursue it, maybe go to college and pursue it. Definitely take it
High
seriously.
school shows,
High
elementary
school shows, all the
school
stuff.
shows.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So depend on how you do in your local market. If you do well in your local market, then I would be all for trying LA a mom called me one time, and they were from Philadelphia, and she was bringing her daughter out for pilot season. I think the little girl was like 9 or 10, and she was so scared. She was like, well, what if this happens, and what if this happens, and how do I do this? And I said, look, I just got to be honest with you. You're only coming for 6 weeks. You're not going to break her in 6 weeks.
Right.
You're not going to break her.
Right.
She's a little kid. You're
They're
staying in a nice
resilient.
place.
Oakwoods.
No, not Oakland. But you're staying in a nice place. You obviously have the means to support you guys here, so you can
Right.
have food and rent a car. I said, you're not going to break her in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that mom keeps coming back every season because it was happy and the kid loved it. And so I've had that kid now for many years, and she's now
So
like,
they come to study with you,
In
and
pilot season.
what is she doing while she's home?
plays,
Okay.
school stuff, community stuff, the stuff I did.
Okay.
Whatever's in your market, that's what you should do. I didn't know about agents when I was little, so I just did play after play after play, and I produced and helped run and do that company, like the rep company, and I did community theater, and then I did get an agent, and I did start to get jobs
Right.
regionally.
Yeah.
I did little things like
Yeah, of
like
course.
I was
Little
background in a
car
movie, but I was
commercial and-
it was a union job, and I was paid a lot of money, and just to learn how to be on a set and to learn the protocol and the etiquette. It was
Right.
great.
A lot of this, guys, mirrors my 2-year plan that I talk about. And I had the other episode, which is, should I move? What Lisa's saying, it kind of dovetails exactly with what I said about, really feeling out regionally where you are and then, expanding if you want to. But one thing that I know Lisa and I would agree on is you never go with an agency that asks you to pay them a lot of money up
No.
front. That is not okay. So parents,
matter where in the country
no
you
matter
are?
where
Nope.
in the country, if they have a big, a lot of these things will have huge casting calls. They're like, and they'll sign everybody, and then they just collect a ton of money.
Yes.
And anyone who asks you and says you must use our photographer, you must use our coaches and teachers, and you to start our program, it's $500
Yes.
or $1,000. Run screaming. That
Yes.
is not legitimate.
Also, if somebody solicits you, run screaming.
Meaning,
If someone comes up to you at a mall, which I've had happen to
Okay.
me and to my students, but me personally with my son, if someone comes up to you and tries to solicit you to a school, oh, your son's so cute, he should be an actor, run. Because if it's a reputable company, school, I don't need to solicit anybody. I have a wait list, 250 kids waiting. I don't need that. I don't need to beg people to come to my program. I don't need to say, oh, your son's cute.
right,
No,
right.
No, call me, email me. I'll put you on the list,
Right.
and we'll get you in as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But I don't need to solicit people. I have all agent, manager
Right.
recommendations, and
Right.
I also too recommend agent managers. So
Yeah.
like I have a whole working
System.
Right. System.
Yeah, you don't need to go up to people at the Grove and say, hey, your
I
kid's
see
cute.
that all the time. Oh, your kid's so cute. Do you want my car? And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
get so excited, new people to the city.
Yeah,
like,
I've had it
oh.
happen to my son. It happened to a friend's kid. I've had it happen to students. It's always in public places, and I'm not going to go into it, but there's a couple schools here that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
that.
definitely do that.
But I will not. I don't talk ill.
So that's what you don't want.
Nope.
What do you want? What should a parent in, maybe in a different city that couldn't, come to your school? They're going to a place in Chicago or a place in Atlanta. What should they look for? What are the things they should look for in a
here's the
kid's
thing. All of
young
us,
youth school?
with the age of Skype, we all Skype. So I give Skype lessons.
Okay.
So there's always
Yeah, I
that.
do too.
I give Skype lessons. So
Yeah.
I have clients all over the country. I have a lot of clients in New York and Texas. But in any hub, whether it be Chicago or Atlanta, I have people everywhere.
Okay.
So if I can't do it, I know someone that can, that at least that is reputable, that will point them in the right direction, that they're not going to get scammed. Like
Okay.
I have contacts in Atlanta that I know are reputable people, casting people, and I have contacts in Louisiana, and I have contacts all over Texas, people that are good people, honest, ethical people. So in any of the major areas, I would know, or if they're like a state away and they would have to come in, but I at least know contacts that
Right.
But
would
so
help.
if somebody's sitting at home listening right now and they don't know you, how do they find those contacts?
Okay. Well, you can go to I've actually had this conversation with parents before. You can go to your university, your local university, even if it's not close.
Okay.
That local university will have a theater department. That theater department will have teachers. Those teachers will know people.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
how you do it.
That's great.
Also, there'll be film schools in every city. Almost every city has some kind of film school. You can go and find those film schools and ask to be put in their casting logs so that you can be part of their student films, that you can be part of, and maybe you might be background. But like for me, when I started, I was thrilled to be background because that helps you learn how to be on a set and how, that guy tells you to do this, and I have to
Right,
do this.
and these lights and-
that guy's with the mic. Okay. Like you just learn. It was like on the job training.
Yeah.
Do you think it transitions? So if your child says they want to be in TV and movies, do you think it's okay to have them theater all the time? Does
Girl, I'm theater all the time.
Now, what does
I
that
just-
mean?
That means that means
You should
I
start training
love
there.
musical theater. No, my background's theater. I grew up in theater. I produced theater. I've directed theater. I've been in lots and lots of plays. So it's just
It's all of
the
it.
theater is the actor's genre. Film and television is the editor's genre. Acting,
Interesting.
theater is, they can't stop you from doing whatever you want when you're on stage, but they can change any performance you give with an editor's with a cut.
So you're saying, like, if you really want to get into it, have them do plays first.
Well,
If
any
they can,
training,
if they can.
is good.
Right.
Anytime a talent show, a play at school, community theater,
Right.
high school theater, college theater, any place that you can get around people that are serious and want to express themselves that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Can it mature into something else and to a higher level? Absolutely, but you've got to go with what's around you.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so how do you know your training, your kids' training, kids at your school, how do you know when you think, okay, now it's time for us to get the headshots and the agents?
I just know.
Well, I'm saying as a parent.
Oh, as a parent.
Like,
Well,
and not
you know,
in your
it's very-
school.
it's
Like, I
very-
know you know, but I mean, they're
okay.
somewhere else. They're going to a different school. How do they know when to?
When a kid starts getting cast a lot, whether it be community theater, whether it be in high school, if a kid starts getting offered roles,
Right.
getting offered things, even if they're not pay, if
Right.
they start getting cast regularly, then it's probably time.
Okay.
And I don't mean in the chorus. I mean if they start getting parts,
Right.
even if it's community theater,
Right.
anything, high school, if they get a nice part in their high school play, they're probably ready to
Right.
start at least auditioning for commercials.
That's kind of what I did.
Yeah,
I was
that's
just
what I did
the lead, big parts in every show in high school and
Yeah.
community. And then I was like, okay.
I think it's time.
Yeah, I think it's time.
If they're not getting cast locally, then it's not time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing that I think most people are worried about, you said, shady characters. In the business, so now you start, you get an agent, you start going out. How do you, as a parent, protect your kids from unscrupulous people in this business? What is the thing they should keep their eyes open for or be aware of at all times? One, we did give you one. Anyone who asks you for money up front for
Right.
any service whatsoever, obviously not headshots or anything like that, but any service where you don't, you usually don't get paid up front.
Well, there's two
You
things.
mean an agent or manager?
Yeah, you don't
Sean?
Yeah,
pay any
agent or
money up
manager,
front.
to be
But a
specific.
coach
But even if
or
you say you
class.
can be in our theater company, oh, come and join our kids' theater company. It's $800 to join the company or something. Some companies have some sort of payment to get in.
Yeah,
but-
like West Coast Ensemble used to have a rep. We had dues every month, but that's
Yeah,
how.
but
But that's
that's
not what I'm
different.
talking. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
different.
that's different.
Well, I just know I have two things for my kids, and my kids both work professionally. I know, first of all, they're never left alone, ever, never.
Do you mean
Ever.
alone with an adult, or you mean alone by themselves?
They're never left alone on set, alone,
Okay.
unsupervised, ever.
But okay, so can that mean another kid, or do you
Right.
mean an adult is always there? That's what I think.
Mom and dad are always there.
Okay.
My kid goes to change. I'm outside the dressing room waiting. My kid has a scene. I'm in watching from wherever they tell me I can watch. I'm not sitting there behind the camera, but whatever they
Sure.
say I can watch. My eyeballs are on my child at all times.
Okay.
Other
So
than
a
if they use the
parent.
restroom or something. If they're in hair and makeup, I'm there.
Okay.
So they're never alone. That's one. And then two, we turned down a lot of stuff for my son and my daughter because
Okay.
of content.
Okay.
I use the rule for myself personally. If my grandma could watch this episode of this or this movie or this series and say, this is great, that's how I know it's okay for my
Okay.
children to do.
Okay.
If I know, my grandma would be like, what are you doing? No, I'm
Okay.
embarrassed. So that's my rule of thumb. But everybody's different.
Everybody's
I have
different.
a very edgy grandma, so I can't really go by that. What about curse words? What
no,
are your?
see, every child's different. My daughter had, and not anymore because she's 17, but my daughter had a huge fear of firearms.
Okay.
Huge. I don't know why. We don't have a gun. We don't
Okay.
have guns around us. Huge fear of firearms. So
It's hard not to
she
when you see
wouldn't-
the news. And
Yeah.
She wouldn't. But this was before all that.
Okay.
She just had this thing about firearms, and I remember her getting really close to getting a lead in a movie where the little girl had to turn the gun on her father, and she couldn't. My daughter was like, "I'm not doing this,"
Okay.
and I'm like, "Okay." You can't
you were-
force them. I mean, it's like
Right.
she's gonna be a
So if they're
hysterical,
scared
nervous
or
wreck.
right.
And then she was doing an episode. She played Eric Dane's daughter on Last Ship on TNT, and there was a scene where these guards came and they stopped in the car, and they had these big, huge spotlights on the car. They were fleeing. They were trying to escape, and all these guards. It was almost like Nazi Germany with like the dogs and the guards and the guns. And they pulled the gun on the car, and my daughter was in the back seat, and she lost her cookies. Like lost her cookies. Like she went crazy. And the woman playing her mother, who just happened to be a friend of mine, who I'd done a soap opera with, she was supposed to be dying. And I remember leaning in the car going, Tracy, Grace is freaking out. And she was like, I'll try to handle it. And she's had, makeup sores all over her hand. And she's like, Grace, it's okay. It's okay, please. And so they said, cut. And we pulled Grace out of the car. And the guy that had screamed at the car and pulled the gun on her, he's like, come on, let's go get craft service. Like,
Yeah.
He tried to calm her down. Like, let's go get a soda, little girl that's sobbing hysterically. Like, I'm your friend. Remember, I'm the guy that was playing games with you for a little while ago.
Yeah.
So
Do
we
you,
had,
as the mom, run in at that, or you don't?
she lost her cookies. Like
Yeah.
she lost it.
But
Like
Yeah.
she
you do
was-
run in, or you?
Oh, I ran in.
Oh, you
I was
did.
like, I ran
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that point, they knew me.
They knew-
that
and
that
they-
whole
they
set
knew
knew me.
you.
Like she'd done a lot of episodes. Like they knew. They knew if I was there was a reason. I wasn't bugging anybody. She was hysterical. Like,
Yeah.
hysterical. The guns were this big, and
Yeah.
spotlights, and German shepherds,
Yeah.
and dogs barking, and people screaming. It was like,
I had that in the
Like-
beginning of jury duty. They had real SWAT guys, and they were pulling the guns, and they said, I said, yeah, it's time to check the guns. And the guy goes, dude, we're running late. You're good. And I went, no, we're not. And every single one of those SWAT guys had to take apart their gun and show me. Because literally I had
Yeah, 'cause-
7 guns pointed
Point at
at my
my head.
temple.
We've heard horror stories.
Yeah, exactly. So you just
but
do your
these guys
due
felt
diligence.
so bad because they had to do take after take, and this little girl's sobbing hysterically, and they're like, Grace, remember me? Hi, honey. See, I'm John,
But it
the
works
nice
for
guy.
this. But it does sound like it works for the scene anyway. Her mom's dead in the back seat.
Well, she's
and-
dying of the plague. But yeah, that's another story
Use
for
it,
another
use
day.
it.
That's a story for another day.
Well, so this is what was very interesting. My first role was People Under the Stairs, and Brandon Adams, who was also in Mighty Ducks, a couple of Mighty Ducks movies, a young African American actor, and was also in The Sandlot. I remember his grandma was saying, I mean, there's a lot of cussing in People Under the Stairs, and there's cannibalism and sodomy and like crazy stuff. But he's the hero that saves the neighborhood and from the mean people. So that's the way they kind of worked it. Like she said, ooh, I don't really like the cussing or whatever, but it helped him a
It just-
ton. It
every
helped him,
family's different.
and every family's different.
Every
But the
family's
grandma did not like the cussing a lot, and Wes talked to her and said, "Remember, he's the hero." But she was okay because again, he loved it and wanted to
Yes.
do it. And
I had a little girl who was the lead in a movie, American Girl movie, and they made a doll after her, and
Okay.
the parents were really religious, and that was it.
that was that, and so
That
they
was
said
it.
no.
They pulled her.
Yeah,
She was absolutely amazing.
But what does that have to do with being religious?
Because the content of so many of shows had swearing. They had so many things that they weren't comfortable
So not with American Girl.
No,
but with-
American Girl, they loved, and they
Yeah.
loved it. But after that, she was offered so many things that were not to their standard. Some parents are okay with cussing. Some parents are okay with
tons of really
lots of
dark
other
stuff.
stuff. There's
yeah,
dark
lots
stuff.
of dark stuff.
My son played a neo-Nazi in a white supremacist in a TV show, and he had to say some stuff. And when we were,
He was how old?
He was 8, and that was the shocking thing, because he said to me, "Mom, I didn't even know people could say things like this." And I said,
Yeah.
"Here's the thing, though." I said, "This is why this is so important, because if an adult says these bad things, that's bad. But if a child says it, it's like getting water in your face." I said, "Henry, you're raising people's awareness about how gross this is, because it's shocking coming out of a child's mouth."
yeah.
So he was like, "Oh," I said, "So this is important for you to do this for that reason," because
Yeah.
the little boy changed.
Right, and he went to an
became
arc.
horrible. Yeah, the guy adopted him, and he got better, and he realized that he was
Wrong
raised
at
that
the
way.
beginning.
So
Yeah.
as the parent, is it important to then talk to them about what is right and wrong and what side of
And why you're
things
making your
on,
choices.
right?
But I think what I'm hearing Lisa saying is the rules of your house just apply.
The rules of your house. Some people are okay with nudity. Some people are okay with violence. Some people are okay with language. I'm personally okay with some language. My son loves to say bad words if he can. That's awesome. But I'm not comfortable with it in our lives.
But then you talk to him and you say, okay, you just said the S word, but you need to make sure you don't say that in school.
Of course,
so
course.
you do
He
have to sit
knows.
down.
Yeah.
He knows. That's why he loves it, because he gets to do things
Right,
like
you
that
get
he
to
wouldn't
do
do in real
things that
life, you
don't.
know?
Well,
So-
that's amazing information, and very quickly, because Mr. Fontavez was saying we have to wrap, but Stories from the Set is going to be the set of How High with Lisa Piccote and I. It was what was it? It was a pilot for, was it a Disney pilot or a
don't remember.
network pilot?
It was a network pilot.
It was a network pilot, but we were both going to be possible recurrings as students if it went forward. And I just remember them shooting the pilot, and there was some weird room above this Lisa already. So when she got cast, I was like, yeah, I know somebody. And we
great.
just hung there for days, and I remember just watching the pilot being filmed, and we'd walk down and do our little bit and then come back up, and we were just
Denise
hanging there for like
Richards
3. Yeah, Denise
was
Richards.
the lead. I played her best friend.
Oh, that's
Dang.
right.
Yes, Denise Richards, who was
Yeah.
on The Housewife of Beverly Hills last night.
Yes.
Because I watched it.
Exactly.
I think she's on a regular on the show.
Yeah,
now.
she's
She
a
is.
regular now.
And then the
yeah.
other girl, Kyle, was David's sister on the show that he did Down to Earth. So I know 2 people on that show.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know
was at
Kyle
my-
as well.
Yeah, Kyle was
That's
at our
so
wedding.
funny. That is
Yes.
wild.
She's
but
lovely.
that's our stories from the set. Lisa, I cannot thank you enough. I think that's
Hope I
so
helped.
So helpful. A
it's
lot of
so
information that
helpful.
parents need to
And
have.
I love that you're child directed. It's about them
Absolutely.
like letting
100%.
them take it, but not obviously become brats or anything
Nope.
like that. But just know that they're the ones. So where can we find you, Roxy?
Everywhere at Roxy Striar.
And where can we find out about you and your school,
Lisa.
Lisa?
Lisa Piccote Young Actor Workspace. So
Nice.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter.
Yep, look it up.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Find me.
Mr. Funtabulous?
You guys can find me at Jeffrey C. Graham on Twitter.
And I'm everywhere at That Guy SMW and Sean Whalen Peeps on Facebook. As always, thank you for letting me be part of your journey.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.